Google gives us 100 up to 100 other asset groups. So you could max out one PMax campaign with 100 asset groups. Can you imagine that? So when usually when Google gives us a specific feature, it means something. If they said, okay, the limit of asset groups that you get to have for Performance Max campaign is 5, well, then we know we should max out 5. If Google says, okay, well, the limit of how many headlines you have is 15, should probably max out 15, or descriptions, long descriptions is 5 or 3, should probably max that out. So the fact that they give us 100 asset groups, granted, I'm not telling you to go create 30, 40, 50, 100 asset groups, but it's very important for us to know it's best for us to segment our asset groups in Performance Max. How's it going, everybody? My name is Gene Villanos, and today I'm doing a solo episode talking to y'all about PMax, how to segment asset groups. And this is within the broader series that we've gone back to, and we will continue to go back to, just because it's such an essential for any PPC Google Ads manager. And this is under the series Google Ads for Beginners. So, getting into it, PMax works well if, right? This is very important to understand first and foremost, because most of the time, Performance Max doesn't really work super well, or you don't think it's working super well for specific niches. One of the niches that Performance Max, I believe, works really well on are if you have a lot of products. And this could be the fashion niche, this could be, if you're selling home goods, or even, any home appliances, and you have all these different collections, themes, and specific product groups that are, very numerous and hard to create manual campaigns, such as individual search or individual shopping campaigns for. Creating a Performance Max can package all those different products together, and the cream rises to the top in regards to which performs the best. Performance Max will take care of that for you. So going back to it, excuse me, Performance Max will work well, if you have a lot of products. And the second point is if you have a smaller budget. Maybe you only have a $20 a day budget, and that for most niches and markets, industries, is going to be a small budget. 20 a day is not a lot. So what I would do at that point is, if you have only $20, I would put in $15 for maybe a search campaign, and then just $5 for Performance Max. And it's tasked to do all these things where it's showing not only specific products, but taking into consideration the lifetime journey or process that specific searcher is currently in, along with other signals and recommendations that you provide through the products and listing groups that you provide also. I think this is very important for us to go over first, just because most of the times we're sold a dream, or we're told that Performance Max is going to be the absolute, best for your specific niche in Google Ads, and it doesn't matter. You just turn it on, throw a lot of budget on it. Quite the contrary. In my opinion, if you have smaller amount of products, like 5 products, you're probably better off testing manually through a shopping and search campaign, because all of those products that you have are visible under your own eye. You won't find something, or you won't have success in something where you're like, oh, I didn't know that product sold, but you only have 5 products. That's why you have the ability to test those 5 products. But if you have a bit of a larger catalog, 100 plus is kind of the guideline, in my opinion. Performance Max, even at a very, very small budget, can work well if you do these things that I'm about to tell you. So, we're talking about how to segment Performance Max asset groups today. And, if you do PPC management, you get a lot of audits. And 90% of my audits that I see, I go under their Performance Max campaign and I see one catch-all campaign. And, I have been guilty of that for sure, because it does work at a certain, percentage or return on ad spend. It works pretty well. But moving towards actually utilizing how Performance Max is meant to be, it's important for us to understand that the more asset groups you have in the long run is going to be better for your Performance Max campaign. And you ask, why is that? Well, first off, Google gives us 100, up to 100 other asset groups. So you could max out one PMax campaign with 100 asset groups. Can you imagine that? So when usually when Google gives us a specific feature, it means something. If they said, okay, the limit of asset groups that you get to have for Performance Max campaign is 5, well, then we know we should max out 5. If Google says, okay, well, the limit of how many headlines you have is 15, should probably max out 15. Or descriptions, long descriptions is 5 or 3, should probably max that out. So the fact that they give us 100 asset groups, granted, I'm not telling you to go create 30, 40, 50, 100 asset groups, but it's very important for us to know it's best for us to segment our asset groups in Performance Max and not just have one catch-all campaign. Especially this works well if you have a lot of lifestyle images and videos. Now, if you're an e-commerce store, I'm specifically speaking e-commerce here just because maybe Ryan could take the lead gen version of Performance Max. But how to segment e-commerce Performance Max asset groups, it is really, really vital for us to use those lifestyle images and videos to differentiate the different asset groups. But yeah, most of the time I do see 90% of my audits have only one Performance Max asset group and is a catch-all with the product groups are just all of the products basically. There's no way to segment that really because you're putting in generalities in that catch-all asset group. So for me, I've seen what works well is if you have multiple asset groups, then you could drive specific traffic to those pages that will have specific messaging and final URLs that cater to those specific listing groups. So I think that's really important. And most of the time, people don't want to put the time into doing Performance Max. Asset groups, multiple asset groups. They don't want to do that. I'm guilty. I just want to do one asset group because there's so many different things you have to look at. It is kind of a bit of a different, muscle memory from what we're used to when we're making a shopping campaign. Shopping campaign takes 5 minutes, right? But Performance Max campaign, you really have to dig in. Okay, what are the headlines and the overall search themes that I have, the search keywords that I want to put in there? Okay, this, I have to create, a short description, long description, find the images, maybe I have to go into Canva and start making the images look nicer or, or even find the images. If you're a PPC manager, it's very difficult. Then you have to contact the client and you have to I get that the reasoning behind only doing one catch-all campaign because we think, oh yeah, this is getting a 2 return on ad spend. Yeah, it's great. I can tell you right now, that's not the goal line. I think you could get higher return on ad spend. I'm seeing 5, 7, 8 return on ad spend on multiple asset group Performance Max campaigns compared to perhaps it is successful for a client to get 2 or 3 return on ad spend with just one catch-all. But I'm telling you, the purpose of why Google is giving us 100 asset groups is to use them. So, that's kind of my intro is it takes a lot of time, and there's still a lot of confusion on best practices with Performance Max. So I think we don't want to invest the time, especially when we see the analysis of Performance Max being a little bit more opaque and we can't really pinpoint and see this is what works. So couple that with the confusion of Performance Max still kind of being in its infancy. Not a lot of people truly understand the definitive guide to Performance Max optimization. I get why people only create one catch-all asset group. Yeah, but like I said, one catch-all ask group can work, but you won't maximize your return on just one. You have to utilize what Google does give you. That's 100 asset groups. Like I said, don't make 100, 100 redundant asset groups. And if you could make 100 unique asset groups to different collections, then do it. But for the most part, at least 5 to 10 asset groups will suffice, and you'll start to see that compound, the interest basically work where maybe you're only doing 5 asset groups, but in the long run, if you're creating good search campaigns to provide other account level conversions by osmosis, Performance Max will take those signals also, and then you'll start to see, okay, wow, this asset group is performing like crazy, even though it's only spent $4, it's gotten these conversions from that $4 at this conversion value, and it's just the compounding power of the algorithm at work when it comes to Performance Max. Um, Moving on, it's really understanding the power of Performance Max campaign is leaning heavily into the machine learning algorithm, right? The more asset groups that we provide for Performance Max, the more choices it could spit back out to any of those searchers that it's seen before, So I think the longer that you run it, the better it's going to be because of that ongoing learning that Performance Max engine has. But, with a generic asset group, one of the reasons I really want to, beat this point in is it's difficult to pinpoint the messaging, the images, even, the videos, even the final URL, even your specific listing groups. It's hard to make all of that make sense if you have one catch-all, because there's going to be irrelevancy there. If you're selling, pair of shoes number one, and you have pair of shoes, one, let's just say shoe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have all of those just in one asset group, then maybe the photo of shoe 4 will have the description and headline of shoe 1. So for us to really, move beyond that and be more specific, we have to create segmented asset groups. And spoiler alert, how I segment my asset groups is through specific products or collection pages that have that corresponding final URL with a specific collection. Um, that's what our goal is. And our goal is to segment those through products. A lot of the times you see Google here. I actually have a whiteboard here. Since we're moving into this new segment or new section of my talk, let me just go ahead and share this whiteboard. This is the first time I'm sharing a whiteboard. So if it looks weird, okay, cool. So yeah, this is essentially how I would, let me go make it smaller. This is how I would do it, for a specific asset group. You could see I have 1, 2, oh, I think this is 5. Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different segmented asset groups by product. And here it works well because these product pages are also segmented by collections, right? Oh, can y'all see that? Okay, I hope y'all can see this because it says share. Okay. All right. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, you could see 5 of these specific asset groups right here, and they have 5 different, products within the asset groups with 5 different final URLs. So I think that's important for us to understand is most of the time we're gonna see in even Google's docs that you should segment asset groups for Performance Max by themes. Like that's, a way to do it. Themes and audiences even says it right here. And I pulled this from the actual Google Doc, or the actual Google.com, Google Ads documentation, where it says group asset groups by similar themes and audiences. But if you read into this, it does say many advertisers will find it useful or helpful to base their asset groups on the sections, categories, or themes that appear on their website. But there's also a finer print recommendation below it says it's recommended to base your asset groups on the sections or categories of the products that appear on your website. So it's basically saying, yeah, you could segment it by, themes, aka search keywords that you put in to the asset group, and audiences, but it's recommended to base your asset groups on the sections or categories of the actual products that appear on your website. So if you have a basketball store, I love basketball, as many people know, you have basketball shoes for men, basketball shoes for women, basketballs, basketball shorts, basketball tops, basketball accessories. All of those should be an asset group. That's how I would do it, with those specific asset groups having a specific collection final URL that corresponds to that asset group, with the messaging, the images, the videos that are tailored to that. I repeat, I would not segment your Performance Max asset groups by the audience and keywords that you could input. Why not, right? You ask, why not? Well, the reason for that being is, I believe that the Google Merchant Center product that's pulled in through your listing groups, that in itself has its own search keywords. It has a headline, it has the description, it might even have a manufacturer part number or a UPC, and all of that information is already on Google. So I believe that Google will trump whatever search keywords or audience that you put in, because it already has data from Google Merchant Center that's being pulled in by the listing groups that you put in your Performance Max asset groups. So what that means is, it's better for us to not have 5 different asset groups with the same product, just different search keywords, audiences. No, because you're just going to cannibalize, basically. And what it's going to look like is you're going to have 1 or 2 products with all the clicks and even conversions. And you don't want that if you have a large catalog. Niches like even in the fashion industry can really benefit off of multiple segmented asset groups by products. Do not segment by keywords or audiences, because you will cannibalize the other products. And then you're going to start to see, wow, this is the only thing that's getting spent. And then you're going to be like, see, Gene was wrong. Performance Max doesn't work. So I think that's a really, really important thing. If you don't get anything, right? If you do not get anything, do not segment your asset groups by audiences or search keywords or themes, right? Do this first. Segment it by the sections or collections, categories on your website, in hopes that has a specific final URL. Or if both, you could segment it by products that should have, if you have a good website, you're going to have, those different sections and categories that correspond to those specific products also. So you could kill 2 birds with 1 stone there. So again, do not segment Performance Max asset groups by keywords or audiences. All right. And another thing that I forgot to pull up, when you add an audience signal onto your Performance Max campaign, there is a blurb, a little green blurb. You could just Google this, take my word for it. And it says, when you add an audience signal, Performance Max will go beyond your selections in that audience signal to find new conversions based on your goals. So it's basically saying, cool that you put this on, audience signal. We will take a look at it, but in aggregate, we're going to find new conversions. That is, what Performance Max is. You want conversions, you want conversion value, so that is our job. So we will go beyond these signals. If you're saying, okay, this is, I want this specific, only people that search Jordan shoes, just that sphere. And I put the website, okay, if anyone searched jordan.com, this is kind of the audience that I want. Or Jordan basketball in a search term. Yeah, that's cool. But we will still go beyond that search term or audience that you put in to find new conversions based on your goals. So I think that's just, you know, more of a clue, breadcrumb, as they say, that Google Ads wants us to segment asset groups in Performance Max, not by themes, not by search terms, keywords, but by product, and those sections having corresponding final URLs on the actual website that you could put in, so that the messaging is more clear, the imaging is more clear, the final URL is more clear. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see. And it's not really a mistake. It's more so what you're leaving on the table. Like I said, catch-all campaigns do really well just because, first is you have everything there. You can set it up really quickly. But if you want that next level return on ad spend on something on your website or client that has 100 plus products, you're not tasked just to do bestsellers and that's it. 5 bestsellers. These are the ones that, one catch-all campaign, whatever. They want to see you go beyond and above and show them something new. Well, if you have these different asset groups right here, maybe one will continue to perform, the best. And maybe you already knew that. But then you take that specific, best performing asset group and then go create a shopping campaign for that, and then go create a search campaign for that. So you're basically using this as a fishing pole to see, okay, I know that some reason I am getting good performance, good conversions, conversion value for this asset group. Let me pause this asset group so the others within this PMax campaign can get more clicks, impressions, and then I will go ahead and put this somewhere else through shopping or search, because I've seen the proof of concept here. So I think that's super important. How do you measure segmented asset group performance? There are lots of scripts that you can install that make it really easy. There's a couple people on LinkedIn. I think Adrian Decker is one of them that has some Performance Max scripts that you can see which specific asset group gets the most conversions, conversion value, return on ad spend, cost. But for me, I just go into GA4. You can go into GA4, go to your reports, go to your acquisition, traffic acquisition, then just add a custom dimension. Click the little plus sign, add a custom dimension of asset group, and then it'll filter that way. So, this is a short episode, not too long. I really just wanted to, kind of let people know that there is more to Performance Max than just making a catch-all campaign, one asset group. Even though that's good, really take the time, to build asset groups according to products and corresponding collection final URLs, and really go into that and understand the products that you have. And the good thing about this is it's going to basically use whatever budget it is that you have in Performance Max to, as best as it can, spread through all those asset groups that you have segmented. So I think that's super important. I think that's something that, even though sometimes I will just create one catch-all campaign, and then see which one has converted, and then I'll make a specific segmented product, by product asset group for those products that converted, try to create a theme. But I will start with a catch-all campaign first. But if you're looking for that next level return on ad spend, really, look into what Google is doing here by giving us an option of 100 asset groups. I mean, that's a huge, that's like saying utilize the algorithm and the data, the machine learning that Performance Max has, by creating many other options for it. So it's just not pigeonholed to this, these catch-all bestsellers, because you're going to see within those catch-all bestsellers to only have one asset group, all you're going to see is the same products being clicked. You're not going to see, if anything, different data from that. So I think that's super, super important. And if you, enjoy these videos that we have, please engage with us at the PPC Cave on TikTok, Spotify, YouTube. Those are our big platforms that we speak on. So, every Monday, per usual, 12 a.m. Mountain Time, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify video, YouTube video. If you have any questions, go to theppccave@gmail.com. We love to hear from you. And if there's nothing else, bye for now.